The role of technology in the recovery of tourism. Welcome to George Chow, one of the absolute heavyweights in digital marketing and China outbound, George Chow. George is the CEO and founder of Dragon Trail Interactive. He founded the company in 2009, and it has grown very fast since then. And today it's one of the big and most influential online marketing in China, from China. Before launching Dragon Trail Interactive, George collected experiences in the US in hotel distribution and revenue management, so he has a wide background. George will help us to understand what technology can do in the recovery in our tourism, a recovery which we urgently need. George, the word is yours, please.
All right. Thank you, Jan. Thank you also to the BUZZ.travel team for giving me this opportunity to share some thoughts on the role of technology in tourism recovery. Obviously, this will be focused on tourism recovery in China. So I'm going to talk about some of the roles that technologies have played and are playing in the kind of managing of the spread of the virus or containing the spread of the virus. I'm going to be sharing some observations on how technologies are used for travel marketing during the pandemic and during the initial recovery phases. And then I'm going to share some thoughts on, how do we manage technology for the upcoming fuller recovery of tourism. What can we do as businesses in tourism to better leverage technology and to understand the trend in the technology? So Marcus, if you can have my slides up, please. Great, thank you. All right. So as I said, these are the topics I'm going to cover. Let's get right to it. Before I do that, I just want to quickly show you an overview of Dragon Trail. Jan has introduced us already. I just want to show you a slide that shows our somewhat unique positioning. We're 100% focused on travel, 100% focused on China, and 100% focused on digital. So that puts us into a fairly unique positioning among the digital marketing agencies worldwide. So since this is already day 3 of the China Summit for BUZZ Expo, so you have already heard a lot of the statistics about the past National Day holiday travel. Forward Keys had forecasted, the month of October will be mostly recovered to pre-pandemic levels on air tickets selling. And it pretty much panned out for the national holiday period. From all the statistics we're seeing, where about 70% of last national holiday break levels, that's pretty significant, comparing to many other markets. And this would have not been possible at all without the support of technologies that in managing or containing the spread of the virus, and also in building consumer confidence. So let me just show you some examples. This is a scene that is played out in almost every public place you want to go into in most Chinese cities today. You want to go into a mall, a movie theater, sometimes an office building, you have to show a health QR code. Someone will take your temperature. If you can show a green code, you're free to enter. If you cannot show a green code, then you need to fix it. In Beijing, at least, if you travel outside of Beijing and you come back, your green code will be invalidated. You would have to, enter into the program, which is a government-run program, to report where you've been, and that has to be checked against the mobile carrier's record of your traveling, and then if that checks out and that places you visited are of low risk, you gain back your green status. Otherwise, you have to either quarantine, or you have to look for some official to get the status resolved before you can continue consuming and roaming around the city freely. Every destination has their own QR code. When you travel, you have to also scan the destination QR code to make sure you comply to all their health requirements. These are made possible by the super apps of China. It's very easy to use. It's built into WeChat. It's a WeChat mini program. It's also built into Alipay, which almost everybody in China has those two apps on their mobile phone. So it's very easy to use. But these really worked, wonders. In addition to obviously wearing masks, keeping social distancing and all that. But this really helped in building consumer confidence. If you're seeing everybody showing a green code before they're entering a mall or a movie theater, you feel comfortable. At least they haven't been to high-risk places. Even though high-risk places in China right now is very small number of places, but if someone had been to one of those higher risk places, they will be identified. They won't be mingling with you in the public spaces, right? So there are also a contact tracing. You have this health status QR code, but at the same time, you have to scan venue QR code. Before you enter a restaurant, you scan a QR code for this particular restaurant so that people will know if something happens at this location, they will know, okay, you've been here, they can contact you because your cell phone registration information is in that program. So they will be able to notify you to go check yourself out or to start quarantine. So these are one use of technology which has helped a lot with the containing of the spread of the virus. Obviously, you're also seeing contactless services at restaurants, at hotels. Some of these robots are used more and more. These guys has been around for a while, but before the pandemic, these are gimmicks. People find it interesting, but it's not really that useful. But during the pandemic, the role of these robots has been increased. They're actually playing a meaningful role in delivering stuff to the room, in delivering dishes in the restaurants and things like that. So there are also technologies are also used in volunteer projects in addition to being used by the public sector, by the government, to do contact tracing and to do health status tracking. There was a group of volunteers all over China, mostly in Wuhan, when the city was in complete lockdown earlier in the year. So a lot of the medical professionals were working long hours. They couldn't get home after work, or they don't want to go home, because they might risk their family members by in close contact with them when they go home directly from the hospital. So they were looking for relatively low-cost accommodation in the city. There were a group of volunteers in Wuhan that have gotten together. They were hotel owners. They were, other hotel professionals that got together and started to offer accommodation to medical professionals, nurses, doctors, to stay after work. So some of these accommodations are free. Some are at heavily discounted, rates. And they have developed a open source platform, web-based platform that connects medical professionals with accommodation providers. to say, from the medical professional's perspective, you see what's available, and then you can contact the hotel to see if they can accommodate you. And from the hotel perspective, you can see who are looking for accommodation. You can also reach out and offer your services. This has worked out very nicely for Wuhan, and this project is completely in open source. If you're interested, you can look it up and get the code. If this type of kind of volunteer projects are still necessary in your country, in your city, you can leverage the technology that has already been developed. This project, if you're interested, you can look at the traveldaily.cn website, because the founder of Travel Daily, Charlie Lee, was one of the leaders of the volunteer group, and he has published a lot of information about this project on their traveldaily.cn website, as well as chinatravelnews.com website. Feel free to look for those information, and feel free to use the technology if you find it useful. Okay, so that's for public sector usage of technology, and also for technology roles in volunteerism, and how volunteers are leveraging technology to deliver meaningful services to people in need. Okay, so next, let's get into a discussion of how technologies are used in business. Canton Fair, which is the longest running import and export trade show in China, period. It's the biggest, is also the trade show that has the longest history in China. It played a critical role in the opening up of China, and it is still going strong. This year, this show has gone completely virtual. And as you've known, there are many, many virtual shows, but there are very few shows that are running at this scale. Tens of thousands of sellers and buyers doing business on this platform, powered by Tencent, one of the leading technology players in China, and the owner of WeChat. There are other platforms. We at Dragon Trail has also launched TNTM, the Next Travel Market, to host virtual travel shows for various trade show organizers in our industry, and also destinations who are interested in running road shows and trade shows and things like that, right? So BuzzExpo is also a virtual trade show. You are probably familiar with this already. If not, getting tired of some of these virtual events. But these are meaningful ways to get, to keep in touch with your travel trade partners in different markets. Now you cannot travel, but you can keep the relationship, you can keep the communication going, because this is the only game in town. After the borders are open and people start to travel, I think you will get into more of a hybrid mode. In addition to having face-to-face meetings, you will have some, virtual technology-enabled communication going forward. I'll get into that a bit more. On the consumer side, people are doing virtual experiences. People are doing video tours using Zoom and other technologies, to showcase destinations, to inspire people during the pandemic. I think the usage of short videos and live streaming has increased many, many fold in all the markets. There are also a lot of social commerce going on because of the pandemic. People are leveraging more and more social media to get the message out about what they're selling, and actually are completing transactions on these social media platforms. One of the key trends in China, is, you probably have heard about this, the pandemic has really turned travel industry executives into live streaming superstars. I'm showing you this picture of James Leong, the CEO of Ctrip, or Trip.com group. He has become a very a celebrated personality on the live streaming scene in China. He's selling a lot of room nights for his company, but also for the industry. Many hotel companies are leveraging his stellar performance on these streaming platforms to sell pre-sold hotel room nights and coupons and things like that. So this has worked extremely well for Ctrip and also for James Liang. This is not the latest statistic. This is probably from a couple months ago. Total GMV from all the live streaming sessions that he's done had exceeded $36 million US already. That was, this data is already a couple months old. But there are also other companies, Spring Air, a low-cost carrier whose chairman and founder was also doing streaming, and they have sold over $4 million worth of air tickets and other ancillary product and services during their streaming sessions. Right? Hotels are also doing this with their own executives or with KOLs. Hotels are also, having virtual tours at our hotel. And during the virtual tour, you can actually click on a button and switch into the e-commerce side of the streaming platform and complete a transaction. These have been, significant tools for some hotels during the pandemic to get some cash flow into the business. They couldn't sell through the normal channels as much, but they're leveraging the new channel, the streaming channel, to sell pre-sold room nights, which are used later on. This model of sales is changing the consumer digital journey significantly. I'll get into that a little bit further, a little bit later. But all these things are happening, right? So, how does live streaming really work? How was it helping with sales and conversion during the pandemic? The proactive sales process definitely helps with conversion. That's the first point, because you're facing consumers directly. This is like TV shopping. You're convincing someone directly instead of just putting your product on a web page, which is more passive, right? This is more proactive, and you can leverage people who are very good at convincing people. And second, you're actually giving out very good pricing, during these promotions. These are carefully orchestrated, carefully, all the supply channels are carefully developed. So you're giving great products at great prices that helps with your, ability to convince people to buy right on the spot, right? This also works very similar to, TV shopping. So this is how and why live streaming actually worked during live streaming, and had helped some travel businesses to get some cash flow into the business. One of the things that these live streaming events had changed is the consumer journey. From inspiration to booking to traveling to post-trip sharing. You used to be, you get inspired first, then you do your research and planning, then you do your booking, right? But with the live streaming events, you get inspired right on the spot. You actually do a purchase. You buy these prepaid coupons, then you use later. You research and you plan after you have purchased, the travel products, prepaid, obviously, hotel vouchers and travel packages. Then you go back to research and planning, because then you're deciding, when do I go, where do I go, how many of these coupons do I use, how do I use it, how do I best leverage that. So this consumer, a typical consumer journey for travel has been disrupted. This actually could have some longer term implications for the industry. Now, here are some of the other changes in the digital journey for travel. From all the adoptions or the accelerated adoptions of technologies in the past few months. Consumer behavior are getting influenced. Digital will become more and more prominent in the travel planning process. I think this is a given. When people are used to all the digital tools that are made available to them, they're going to continue to use some of these tools, for research, for planning. So I think, these tools will continue to play a bigger role in the travel planning process. Videos will be more important throughout the consumer journey, not only for inspiration, but also for the booking phase, and also for the in-market spontaneous decisions on where to go. That could influence those decisions. I'm actually watching some videos before I decide where do I go tomorrow. I'm in destination already. So these are the roles that videos will play, both pre-recorded videos and streaming videos. The expectation for contactless services will change the in-destination experience significantly. You need to really get your business ready. People will expect some form of contactless services. How do you do that? How do you use the efforts you are doing in delivering contactless services to build up the consumer confidence in your ability to deliver health and safe experiences for them at your destination, at your hotel, at your attractions. The consumer journey for travel will be mostly completed on lifestyle and e-commerce platforms. This is at least for China, in addition to happening on OTA platforms and other travel platforms. I think a lot of the lifestyle platforms in China, like Xiaohongshu, Red, e-commerce platforms like Taobao and AliTrip and Fliggy, and all these platforms will play a bigger role in the overall consumer journey. In addition to playing the role of inspiration only before the pandemic, now they're penetrating more and more and deeper into the overall travel journey. So then, as travel businesses, especially as small and medium-sized travel businesses, how do you respond, to the changes in consumer behavior induced by the use of technologies during the pandemic, or the wider use of technologies during the pandemic? Here are some pieces of advice. First, I would say learn as much as you can about the newly widely adopted technologies, right? Such as short videos, live streaming, so you're informed. So when it comes to selection, the right platforms for you, you know how to make the right choice. Instead of without the knowledge, you have many players trying to get into the space. Which platform is going to work, which one is not going to work. How do you make that decision? Learn as much as you can from others. A lot of people have been doing this. Talk to people, talk to the vendors, ask what they can do for you. Second, again, this is also from learning. When you attend these webinars, attend these virtual activities, pay attention to the changes in the digital ecosystem and the various business models that had emerged, and look at how they might be relevant to your business. Get these prepared before recovery finally happens, so you're well prepared instead of trying to catch up when it may be too late in a competitive environment. And third, well, we're still in the pandemic. We're not in full recovery yet. Conduct some customer research. Look at third-party research. Look at data to really understand how the digital journey are changing, not in general, but specifically for your target audience. If you're targeting family travel, how the behavior is changing. If you're targeting MICE, how is the MICE segment changing? Right? Is the pandemic going to have a longer-term impact on leisure travel, or is it going to have a longer-term impact on business travel? These are, questions you have to answer yourself. But a lot of research that you can do yourself, or research from research companies and other bigger travel companies that can help you in understanding these changes more, right? And lastly, be in more control of the digital journey once recovery finally arrives. How do you do that? You need to quickly choose the right platforms, quickly choose the right technologies, quickly choose the right technical partners to help you play a bigger role in the overall consumer journey, and avoid waiting for other people to play a bigger and bigger role in the in the overall consumer journey, and you being pushed more and more to the sidelines. As businesses, we obviously want to have more interactions, want to have more engagement with the consumers, so we can influence more directly, instead of waiting for the OTAs to influence them, waiting for the lifestyle platforms to influence them, waiting for the live streaming platforms, the video platforms to influence them, and to deliver digital transactions. And then eventually, we as hotels, we as attraction management companies are basically relegated to simply delivering housekeeping services and restaurant services, food and beverage services. That's not where we want to be as businesses. We want to be more in control of our interactions with consumers. We want to be more engaged with our target audience. Get ready for that as soon as recovery comes, and really take advantage of the downtime right now to learn and to practice, if you can, on a smaller scale to get things ready before the recovery. I think that's all I have to share for this session. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My email address is george@dragontrail.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions over email. Thank you very much. Marcus, back to you.
Thank you, George. Very interesting views, very interesting analysis, and delivered in a great way. We hopefully get back to some kind of normality again, but you made very clear that things will not be quite the same as we were used to. In my view, the pandemic per se is probably not changing a lot, but it's accelerating trends we had started to see before the pandemic. Yep. Thank you a lot, George. It was great. It's probably one of these videos I will take in again and have another view at. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you.